Open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. With me, Deeply Body. Deeply means guide, means something that points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Body means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness, which is my martial art name, my spiritual name, and my healing name. And for the last 39 years, I have been studying the Taoist art. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. And I've been studying arts like Tai Chi, Qigong, Guitar, Tween art, Chinese massage, acupressure, five element cooking, five element theory, the I Ching, the Tao Te Ching, and many other different strategies and technologies to help the people balance their own personal way, path, or Tao. And I've helped people with chronic pain, fibromyalgia, migraines, many other ailments and injuries, but I've also helped healers, light workers, life coaches, Reiki masters. I've helped giving them techniques to supercharge themselves and ensure they never burn out. So that's who I am and what I do. What this show all about? Well, the show is the way of a regular weekly on a sorry, a weekly regular show on spirituality and science, balancing health and well-being in mind, body, and spirit. With a Taoist twist. What does Tao mean again? It means the way, path, the balance. Now, this isn't a normal show. Surprise, surprise, anything with me in it isn't normal. Each week we either have a subject or a guest. Today we have a very lovely guest that's been on the show before, and our goal, our aim is to have an open discussion to help us all find new ways, new techniques, new DAOs or new techniques to balance our own DAO. Slightly off today, but anyway, we're all good. So I did turn your mic off, Rhonda, so turn it back on. So good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Sifu. I'm so happy to be here again. It's so lovely to see your smiling face. You always put a smile on my face. And when we have you on our show at Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light, with my two co-hosts and good friends, Teresa Warren and Bex Marie, we just love having you on our show as well, because you bring a brightness and a lightness and an energy to our guests. And I think what's going on in my world is Spirit Sessions. We were on our fourth season. We've been having lots of powerful guests coming in, and everybody else. We've just had so much fun just exploring the world of light workers and bringing them to our audience. And we find it very satisfying. Our audience base is growing, but at the same time, we have a core audience that feels like family. And Teresa and Bex bring in so many different places. I am a Reiki master. That's where my roots are. I've been a Reiki master teacher for about 20 years now. That was my gateway I call it the gateway drug to spirituality. Reiki opened me up to so many other things in my life, or actually confirmed so many other things in my life, that things that were always sort of there in the background confirmed that they were real to me. That being God was real, that being there was a source power, that being that there was intuitive gifts I had. There was all sorts of different things that just a general awareness of the world opened up when I became a Reiki master teacher, and realizing that it was in everybody around us as well, that there was that connection between everyone as well. With that Reiki, you could feel it. It's sort of like in the movie Star Wars. And like the Force is with you. That's what I always describe it to my teachers, is that the Force is with everybody and everything, and we have that connectedness. And I think when you're attuned to Reiki, you feel that right away. You feel that connectedness to everything, and that's really helped me along my path in developing. And all these guests that we've been bringing into Spirit Sessions really open you up to all the little corners. It's not us and them, it's all of us together. We all have little parts to play. It's like a worldwide web of light workers, and we all are integral to up leveling the planet and up leveling each other. That's the way I feel. I don't know. What do you think, Bobby?
Oh no, I definitely agree. I definitely think, yeah, it's we're all part. You know, we're all interconnected. We're all part of the, well, you know, the same team, and it's, you know, everyone is a teacher, everyone is your guide, and you know, we're all here to, you know, sort of help each other and learn from each other. And it's a very cool thing. It's a very powerful thing. So I mean, what have you guys? Yes, 4 years now. I mean, you know, what different like guests have you had on Spirit? Like,
Uh,
Spirit.
I always laugh because I always remember telling Teresa when she brought forward this idea. I always laugh and thought, oh yeah, okay, Teresa, we'll do this, but it'll probably only last about 3 months, and then it'll just kind of go away. But 4 years, and Teresa's brought in people like Diana Cooper comes in and talks about, and she comes in and she's been on our shows twice, and I'm sure we'll ask her again. We had Ruben Langdon. He just a while ago. He starred in the movie Avatar, but he also has done a documentary on meeting extra dimensionals, and he was on Gaia TV. We have, of course, we get Emily Harrison in, who's our mentor and one of our guides. She comes in and talks about all the wonderful up leveling she's been doing. And we've luckily lately, through Emily, been able to have the crystal skull, we call it the skull of love, the crystal skull, the one that was sort of the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull movie was modeled after that story. We've actually had the crystal skull and his keeper, Bill Holman, on twice. And hopefully again, because he kind of likes getting the skull out, because he figures the skull's mission is to invoke peace in the world. And he has his own little meditation channel on full moons and on new moons, where you can go and join his meditation group for world peace. And oh, so many people have come on lately. We've just been so excited, and we hope to get more and more and more people coming on. This week we have Stephanie Elaine Golden Falcon, and she's a quantum artist. So we get all sorts of different people from all different genres of the light worker world coming on. So it's really quite interesting.
No, that is very interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, 'cause I remember the beginnings of it. I remember when you guys first started, and I always thought, oh no, this is a good idea. I like that. And you guys have done really well. It's great to see that you're still going. You're still going strong, which is all good. And I mean, like your journey itself, what have you done, in the last 4 years off from the show? How are things, with last year, what have things dramatically changed, from
It's been, my personal life's pretty busy right now. Still, I'm working from home because of COVID, my normal 9 to 5 job. So that takes up a little bit more space than it did when I was just going to an office and coming back. But at the same time, I've sort of expanded, and I have more people around the world that I actually engage with through Zoom. And I've learned that I can actually attune people through the internet, through Reiki, because what I've learned, and something that I explored last year when I got to go to Mount Shasta with Emily Harrison, was going into Akashic records of my clients and actually performing Reiki healing on them from that space of their records, sort of at a soul to soul level, which some of my clients that I've done both physical healing, like in the present, them being present, and then doing it over the like a Zoom or messenger type of healing, that they can really feel it's almost closer than actually being there present with them in the physical body, sort of a soul to soul level almost. And it's really kind of up leveled my practice and my healing skills at the same time. So I found that that's one of the big up levelings for me, and it's really brought online my intuition too. It's more and more times I'm going, oh, that's interesting. I was right. Or I find that even using my oracle cards as a tool now, like you can't make this stuff up. And I've been working with angels and everything else at the same time, and just things that weren't in my field of vision when I started this show have come on more and more online. I guess you would have been expanded that way too from your guests, them bringing in new modalities and things.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it's definitely yeah. The more it's very much a Taoist philosophy of the more you add, the more you grow. It's I think some people sort of think, oh, you must only do one thing, and you stick to that one thing, and it's not true. It's that we grow through life. The more experiences you have, the more you grow, and your healing modalities or whatever you teach is exactly the same. When you even things that don't seem to be the same. The samurai were notoriously known for they would look after baby trees, bonsai. They would do painting, calligraphy. They would do tea ceremonies, and each one of those would add their role as a samurai. It would actually add and grow, and so that's what happens is that everything you do enhances everything else you do, and as you pick up more stuff, and because I've done the course with Emily Harrison, the Catholic records as well, and yeah, everything you learn it adds a new flavour. It's like it's like a good soup or good a food that when you add something else, it adds to that flavour, and it encourages more things to happen, and it helps it helps the clients, but it also helps you as well, and that's why it's always good to do new stuff and add more stuff to a degree. And then hone in what you learn, what you've done as well. It's good to focus on that too. So it's all good. It's all good indeed.
Yeah, and then some of the things are like circle around back to you. Like since I was a child, I was always interested in rocks and minerals, and I had a big rock collection when I was a kid. And then I realized, oh, I've always been drawn to crystals. And then 20 years ago, before crystals were cool and oils were cool, back in the day, I took a crystal energy healing course just because I just love stones. I love crystals. And I'm taking another one now, a certified one, as a crystal energy guide, because I thought, it's time, new information, but I have this house full of rocks, and so I might as well use them, right? My husband's quite tolerant of all this stuff. I'm always picking up things here and there, but it's way cheaper than diamonds and pearls, so he's okay with that. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Darling, it's way cheaper than diamonds and pearls. You just keep buying me crystals. I like that. That's cool. And what the whole thing of is like now there are they've used crystals within I mean we've used crystals on phones or watches for a long time. You have the crystal charged watches. But the whole point that the crystal, they now know that crystal can actually store information and data, which then goes to things like the crystal skull. Is that people have said that touching the crystal skull, they get images and information come through, and they would, or even with certain crystals, that certain things or certain images would come through, and the ancient knowledge would say that crystals were a storage device, that they kept information. They were, they stored consciousness, they stored information. So from crystals, you could pick other, information up. You could come up stuff, and it's funny how, like for me, a lot of the ancient stuff, the ancient knowledge that people think is very woo-woo and that's all made up. When you actually look into quantum physics and science, they're actually proving what the ancients said. They're proving all the time. There's more and more information proving that. And I've said this quite a lot. Like the last, from the 90s, I was working in the Fortune 500 or 100 or the SP 500, 100 index businesses. And, I know they use psychics. I know they use remote viewers. I know they use feng shui or feng shui, whichever way you want to say it, practitioners. They use crystal healers. They use lots of stuff that in the rest of the world we think, that's new age or that. But the new age stuff is old age for starters. New age.
It's old age. And I mean, all we have to do is look at what we're talking on now, right? We're talking on a medium that goes through energy. And who would have thought 20 years ago we would have been able to do this except on Star Trek? And we thought that was far-fetched. But of course, there's crystals in our computer. There's crystals in our computer screen. We think we're so smart, but they were smarter before us and they found better ways. We're just sort of catching up. It's like looking at the computer and comparing it to the pencil. And I'm sure if we went back in time wherever they were in Atlantis or what, they'd look at our computers and compare, oh, the computer's like a pencil compared to what we have. And I'm sure I spent lifetimes back then working with crystals because I have some little flashes and who's to say I haven't, and who's to say that's wrong? If it's a thought, it's energy, and it got there somehow. I don't believe you just make stuff up. I believe that energy comes from somewhere, and it's probably part of you, and it's a remembrance.
Well, it was Einstein that said that energy can't be destroyed; it can only be transformed or transferred. And that led to the idea, well, if everything is technically energy, atoms, everything is frequency, which is energy, our consciousness is energy. So therefore, where does it go? If it can only be transformed and transferred, where does it go? And again, going back to, I mentioned it in the show quite recently, that there's actually case studies in India, Africa, and China, where each one's got between 1,500 and 2,000 case studies of children who were saying, between 4 and 6 years old, who were saying, I remember being, I remember being a man, or I remember being a woman in this village, and I had 3 kids, and this and that and the other. And these scientists that actually went off to these other villages, went to places, found these places that they said that they lived, and investigated. And there is over, like I say, I think they're almost all near 2,000 at least now, but they were between 1,500 and 2,000 cases of evidence-based cases of that the child said this, and this was confirmed. It was all confirmed, and so this whole idea of like reincarnation, where people say, "Oh, I'm not sure I believe in reincarnation." Well, with science, 6,000 cases is in essence that's enough evidence to prove something is a fact. Within science, and there's also interesting things like up to the 1400s. Which always gets in trouble sometimes. But up to the 1400s in Christianity, in the Christian faith, was reincarnation. And there's still certain lines of it left in the New Testament.
Like when the great wind came in and there were people talking in different voices and different languages and they were here and there. I remember my minister talking about it, so that's sort of like reincarnation, and everybody's come back and, like transported in and transported out as time travelers and people coming back. I mean, at the end of the day, there's some point in your life, maybe it's my point in life, I don't care what other people think, what I think is true or not, and I look, how is it going to affect my life? How is it affecting my life going forward? How is it affecting those around me? This knowledge that I bring forward. I think mainly what it has affected my personal way is I come from try to come from this place of non-judgment of other people, and if they believe that, if they're not hurting anybody, they're not hurting anybody else, or they're not causing harm, like let them be. And there's so much in the world that's so divisive. We have to be left or right. We have to be vaccinated or not vaccinated. We have to believe this or not believe that. If we're not doing any harm to anyone else, then we need to just let it go and just come from that part. If you believe in unicorns and I don't, it's not hurting me that I don't believe in unicorns. It's not hurting me that you do. So let's just leave it at that and go on. And when they come to visit you in your garden, you'll believe or you won't.
And that's the thing. Well, there's actually an interesting thing on that. The whole thing in quantum physics that states that the goes back to the Smith experiment back in the 1900s, where they found that you had certain scientists that believed certain things were going to happen, and they all did the experiment, they all did the experiment, and they came back and said, "Look, I was right. This is going to happen." And then when they all looked, they all had different answers. So, well, that doesn't make sense. So they all went off and did each other's experiment, still thinking that they were right. And then they come back and say, "No, I was right. Your experiment did work, but it worked when I did this." And they found that the observer takes the experiment. Well, we're the observer, and this is the experiment. So there is this interesting thing where in actual fact, people can say, "Oh, I don't believe in this," and technically they're right for them. It can. How can something be both right and wrong at the same time? But this universe seems to be that way. That we are the observers of this reality. And there's even to the point where they keep trying to find the end of the universe, but every time they look at a certain point in space, they find more stuff. They find more galaxies, and to the point where the whole thing of the field, which is this idea of everything is interconnected, is that we are interconnected to the observer or consciousness, and wherever we look at stuff, we will find something. And again, so if people don't want to believe in it, that's their choice. But they'll find evidence why they don't believe in it. If somebody believes in it, they'll find evidence why they believe in it. I always say,
like looking on Facebook, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Those wonderful fact checkers, they know everything.
Absolutely. Cheers to the fact checkers. I just love how humans have to put everything in a container in a box, and they're always trying to find the end of the universe. It used to drive me nuts as a kid trying to figure out the universe. I used to lay in bed and say, "Okay, well, we're here, but what's there? If we're all like out, so what holds the universe?" It used to drive me nuts, and then I just stopped thinking about it because I'm never going to be able to perceive that. That's beyond my little human brain here. To be even able to perceive infinity is beyond our brain. So I've just given up on that thought because it's easier not to. I do bird watching instead because that's a way of being very centered and very calm. It's kind of my meditation. So going out, a lot of people go out in the forest and they don't even notice there's birds. There's so much in their head. Mm-hmm. So when you start going out in the forest and just seeing and listening and observing, like you said, you start coming back into your body. I think you start getting grounded and you start realizing like all your senses become online. So that's one of my ways of not going nuts in the world. So I just go out and listen, and I listen really hard. And I think that's also developed some of my psychic skills, you would say, because you start listening on a different wavelength than some people.
Oh yeah. Well, the whole thing of the more you observe, when you start looking on the outside and observing, allowing yourself to observe more and expand more, then you'll see more. That's the whole point. Your awareness expands and grows. But a lot of people tend to focus very narrow and on the inside, or focus on one thing over and over again. and that keeps you in a loop, and that keeps you restricted. But when you allow yourself to let go, and you allow yourself to, just to look out there and observe what's there, rather than judge it, to actually just observe it, you will always start to see more and more and more, because that's the goal, is when you let go of your beliefs, let go of the restrictions, or saying, oh, limited beliefs and saying things that can only be this and only be that. And when you just allow things to be and observe that process, things expand, things grow, and you get to see more and more. And yeah, well, when you pay attention, when you're looking out and just listening and just looking at the world, you'll see more stuff. You'll notice more stuff, and you start to observe more stuff. So yeah, bird watching or nature watching is a very good and yeah, it can even increase your psychic abilities, because everything's interconnected. So when you look at one thing, you do one thing, it actually affects everything else.
Yeah, I think it's very important for everyone to get out in nature every day, because if you've noticed, in our world, we used to watch a big screen on a TV
Yeah.
in the family room. Now we watch on our little individual screens, so we're becoming disconnected from the real world and focusing our attention on this kind of made up world that we've got in our hand, or in our on our computer screen. So our screens have gotten smaller, our focus has gotten smaller, and we're eventually just blocking out the outside world. And I wonder if that's intentional by the powers that be, that we're not supposed to notice what's going on. And so to further it, they put us in our houses and locked us down. I mean, I never could understand why. I've been lucky here in Canada, because I can go out anywhere on my property, and I have a beautiful 250-acre farm with a forest. So I've never really been locked down. So I've never lost my connection to the outside. And, I think it's my job as an observer to keep watching everything that's going on in the skies and what's going on, to make sure things aren't being hidden from us that we should see. So it's just like, I've been lucky to be able to keep in touch with nature here. And I think everyone should take that time, even if they are locked in their apartments, or get outside where they can, and get out and just look around them and just reconnect with Mother Nature, because she's the one who actually has your back in all this, in this world. She's the one who can keep you connected and to the real world, and not this virtual world that we are connected with, which has got wonderful points, but it also has those negative points, that you can scroll for TikTok on an hour, and there it goes an hour, and you haven't really learned anything or done anything, and it's 2-minute shorts that's just like flash flash. All it's done is really shorten your attention span. But saying that, I'm on TikTok too. But anyways. But I put nature scapes on with beautiful music. That's all I can say, is I thought, okay, I'm going to bring this there. But yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, and it's all about balance, isn't it? It's all about. I mean, well, it's quite funny. I don't own a TV. I mean, there's certain things I do watch on my small tiny screen. But at the same time, half the time I'm traveling about, or I definitely like, because I now live near the coast. I moved from London down to the coast, Worthing in the UK, and one of my biggest passions is sitting by the sea, and then having music on, or even even like watching something, but at the same time I'm hearing that ocean and watching the world go by as well, and I do love it. I've always been a watcher. I do like watching people, and I love sitting at a cafe and just watching the world go by and observing people. And I think that like I said, it's not about cutting out everything from all technology, because I think technology is an awesome thing. I mean, you're on the other side. You're on the other side of the pond, for goodness sake. I'm in the UK.
Who says we can't time travel? You're 5 hours ahead of me. So I'm traveling back in time, talking to you.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. It's well, technology is an awesome thing, but it for me, it always goes back to Tao. It always goes back to the balance. Is finding that balance between technology and nature. Finding that balance between you know doing set things, doing chores, but then just allowing yourself to just be and do what you need to do at that moment in time. Go with the flow. I very much believe in that balance. I very much believe in having that. I mean, to the point. I mean, I've got people. Like I say, I live in London, work in London right now, and live in the coast. And so I have about 6 hours. I travel about 6 hours a day to work, 3 hours there, 3 hours back.
Wow.
And some people say, oh, that's too much. But when I get on that train, I can read, I can watch something on my tiny screen, I can watch the world go by, I can sleep, and I've always got something to do. And a lot of the time, when I used to live in London, I could easily spend 5 6 hours sitting there doing very little, and get caught up and stuff. So the whole idea of being on a train is that, well, if I'm going to do very little, or if I'm going to be watching something, I might as well be watching something or reading the book. I might as well be reading the book while I'm going somewhere. So the whole idea is that I'm actually doing two things with one move. Hitting two birds with one stone. Yeah,
Multitasking in a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
in a way, and I always loved traveling. Traveling was always a big passion of mine anyway. So the whole idea of I get the London experience. I get to work in London and do what I do in London, but I get to live near the coast as well. And also the fact, because I've had this conversation with my brother, and my brother thinks I'm mad, doing this. Because he says, "What? Then all you do is get home and sleep." He says, "Well, yes and no. I have that an hour. I go down, sit by the sea for an hour when I get back, and that clears out any of my tension, any of my worries. Then I go to bed, get 5 6 hours sleep. That's all I need. Get up and go back to work. But but I'm happy. I'm very relaxed and happy, and that is supposed to be what it's all about. You're supposed to work to live, not live to work. You're supposed to find
Absolutely.
whatever your passion is. You try your goal is to make your passion your job, and make your passion. And I'm not quite there yet, but I'm definitely on that way. And moving down here has definitely been one of the highlights, of this year for sure. And it's one of the things that definitely means for me things to move forward.
Three
Because when
hours
I
on a train is nothing to get to the coast. I had just spent 6 hours on a plane to get to the other coast of Canada for a wedding,
yeah,
and it was gorgeous, and it's a long ways away. So I won't do that every week or every day, so because it takes a whole day to get there. Well, it takes half a day to get there and a whole day to get home. So because of the
yeah,
3 hours difference, but yeah, the ocean is. I was at the Pacific Ocean, so it was gorgeous being up there in northern Canada and the Pacific Ocean on the beaches, and yeah, it was lovely. I can
yeah,
see the call of the sea. I can understand that for
yeah.
sure. It's a whole different vibe for
Mm.
sure.
Very much so. Yeah, and yeah, it's one I very much enjoy. But anyway, enough about me. Um, so I mean, so well, we sort of, well, a few years ago now that we said it. So, but how did you get onto this path? What started you on the path of the Reiki and the healing? Where did that begin for you?
I have to say I've always been like a healer in a way. I've always been working with my parents. I always end up with all the animals in the neighborhood to fix, you know, because we weren't allowed pets. I'd always end up with my dad even brought me home a duck that was covered with oil once when I was like 18. Here's a duck I found on near where I was working. Can you fix it? So but that's always been sort of a thing. And I also almost became a nurse, but I decided not to. I decided to learn how to breed and train horses instead. So that's why I'm an accountant in accounting now. But anyways, so I think what really drove me to this was my mom had been really ill for about 7 years. I looked after her till she died. And I thought, well, people had told me about energy work, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. And I remember my friend had said, oh, here's something called Reiki in this book. Maybe it might, after my mom had passed, maybe you might want to try that. And I looked at it. It was one of those little squares in colleges with about 3 sentences. Hadn't got a clue what Reiki was. Didn't know anything about it. Oh, well, you take level 1 and then you can take a practitioner course. Okay, I'll do that. So I went to this college course with my friend. She found out you had to touch people and left about an hour into the course and left me with these other 20 people learning Reiki. And it was a very interesting course. It was the first time I had experienced Reiki. And so I took the course and was attuned to it. And I met a neighbor there that I kind of knew. And I came back and did my practitioner course. And then about 2 years later, I decided, well, all this time I didn't think I wanted to become a master teacher. And I thought, I think I want to do the master teacher because I'd used Reiki a lot on my friends and my relatives. Mainly it was for self-healing, but I had used a lot, even on my father who had had the heart operation. I'd used it on him. And I said, well, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to go through for my master teacher just to get the ability to channel more energy and that. So I went, and my neighbor friend was there as well, went to the same different master, same course. And we decided, yeah, we got attuned. It was a whole different vibe in this with this master, and we got a lot more out of it. And we said, well, maybe we'll teach a class together. So we taught classes together for about 15 years. And this was at a time when in our area, like Reiki wasn't known. Like there was nobody that really knew what was going on. I mean, you had to explain it to everyone you met and actually demonstrate it. So it was fun. And now my area, I don't know how many Reiki masters have come to my little township and my little rural area. It's sort of like now it's a hub. It's like there's a whole bunch of us around here, and they're not my students. They just kind of migrated here. It's so much fun. It's so nice to see that it's growing. Kathy and I always just said we'd like to have everybody in the world at least have level 1, and it would be so much better world. So that's how I've got this far.
I agree. I think it's actually one of the things I always said. Learn like basics in energy work, learn first aid, and also learn like basic food and nutrition and cooking. If everybody knew that, like, because the first aid was always, because there was one person. I remember driving to Richmond Iceland once because I was a great ice skater, and there was a group of people at the side of the road, and somebody was in his car, and a group of people around didn't know what to do, and the person had passed away, but their airway was blocked, and all somebody needed to do was just like lift up their neck, their head, and it was like that thing of just one simple thing could have changed that whole scenario, and I found that with energy work as well. When you sort of even just know the basics of energy work, you see things in a different way. You see emotions, or you're getting angry or frustrated. You suddenly realise it's a blockage. Your body is blocked, and that's why that energy is building up. You're getting angry, you're getting frustrated because your energy is blocked. And if you just do certain things, or even just breathe in a different way, you can, affect your whole emotions and whole mind. And so it was things, very much like that. Is that if I ruled the world, there would definitely be certain things that everybody would learn, just the basics. Just you don't have to be unmastered. It's just learn the basics, because it would really change the perception of people and you know and a lot of things, and that would that would definitely help the world in different for sure. If people just understood things, you know, understood energy and understood things in a certain way.
Yeah, I think a lot of those things are more important than knowing calculus for sure. Or some, like, because I still can't remember my grade 13 calculus. But yeah, like, I mean, that's what, as being a mother, like in Canada, you teach your kids two things. You teach them how to swim and you teach them how to ice skate, because then they're good for both, right? So, and also to how to cook and how to hang up laundry on the line. Those are the things you have to teach your kids how to do, because then they're pretty much, and first aid, like you say, we all took the first aid courses here when we were kids and taught them in school and whatever. So, yeah,
Yeah. But
that's
not, they don't do that here. First aid is not. Yeah, I would definitely would encourage you know anybody to just learn basic first aid. It just means that you know if you know you saw somebody rather than panicking, rather than have that fear, you could what do I have to do? I'll just that simple thing, just understanding a couple of little things. And that's why, yeah, I think everybody should learn to ice skate. I live in England and we don't have many ice rinks, but I still think everybody should learn to ice skate.
well,
But
I can't skate very well, but I have to say, but my kids can. So, I was the third of four girls, and I was kid. We only had one pair of ice skates, and they weren't very good by the time they got down to me. But yeah, no, I'm not. I can ride a horse, but I can't ice skate very well. That's all I can say. But yeah, so I got a card for your audience if you like.
oh
Um,
yes,
I put
awesome.
on. Yeah, I pulled out this or this is from Kyle Gray's deck, Angel Guide, and this is one of his newer decks. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me put it out here so I can get it not so shiny. It says, "Do the work." So everyone who's been putting that off, whether it's meditating or breathing or going walking or learning how to ground, it's for your own, it's very yellow in the center, and I always think that's working on yourself. That's the sacral. Um, that's the solar plexus chakra, that yellow, that little central sun that's in the middle of ourself. That teaches us this is how you can make sure you feel good enough. You have to do the work, which means you can't just rely on things to happen. You have to do your meditation. You have to do your journaling. You have to do your self-care. And that's doing the work. That's all that's required of you, is to do the work. And part of that loving yourself is by doing that work. It's taking that time to eat properly. It's taking that time to go for your walks. It's taking that time to ground in nature. And that's the work that you need to work on to make yourself feel better so you can be a light in this world. So that's doing that work, sort of like what you do every day. You do that self work and you put on this program, and that's how you share your light. That's doing the work every day. And that 3 hours that you have, that's commuting time, it's like the downtime. That's your meditation time. That's your time to be able to, it's a great time to have that little slot in the day, like where you can, this is my time to do the work on me.
Yeah.
Because if you want to see a change in the world, you have to change you first. Be the change, right? You have to be the change. So
Yeah, everything on the outside is just a reflection of us in the center, and so that happens more than I think people think. Is or a sort of a version of that is like if you wake up the wrong side of the bed, as the saying goes, and you're a bit grumpy, or you stub your toe, and that grumpy energy, or that continues through the day. But if you wake up, happy and cheerful, Bruce Lipton from with epigenetics, he calls it the love effect. That if you're in love, everything seems a little bit better. Your rubbish job seems a bit better. The route to work seems a bit better. And it's all about perception. Is that because of that perception of you being in love changes the outer world you see, and so the whole idea of like doing the work, when you clear stuff, you allow more things to happen, and say, or you do your energy work and you do your meditation, that allows more stuff to happen. That's the whole point, is that everything's connected to something else, and doing the work allows you to be more of who you really are.
Yeah, and going to see healers, even if you are a healer, is really important, I find. I mean, I go to healers to have them work on me. It's like you can't tickle yourself sometimes. So it's always nice to go and get a massage. Well, I can get myself a massage, but it's not the same as going to my massage therapist. Or, and I have people that are Reiki masters that come to me for Reiki just because it works better because they're a Reiki master, I have to say, because the energy flows better. It's deeper, it's different, but it's a different story, and it's part of their self-care, and that helps them, just charge themselves up faster and be a light where they need to shine. So I'm doing the work on yourself. So yeah, sort of like what you do. You probably go to healers as well, I would imagine.
I do. I do. A friend of mine, the mighty Fred Bleach, he's my back guy, and there's somebody else I go to for energy work as well. He kicks my back and massage as well, and then I've got an energy guy that I go to, and that's the whole point. As a healer, you need it yourself. You need to work on yourself and help yourself, because otherwise, that whole thing of if your cup runs empty, then you can't help others. You need to have yourself still maintained and yourself still flowing, and then that can help other people. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's not to be a martyr for the world. That's not it. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, go first. Get yourself healed, and then you'll be, like you said, so much more useful to everyone else. If you ran 24 hours a day without sleep, you'd be worthless in a day or two. So, and you wouldn't get nearly as much accomplished. So, sleep, eat properly, get your healing work done, go out in nature. If you can do all those in a day, then you're probably off to the races. Oh, and drink water, which is, it's important to keep the energy flowing, right? So.
Yeah, replenish. You always have to replenish yourself. If you don't replenish yourself, you can't replenish anybody else. You can't help anybody else because you don't help yourself first. It's very, very important key, very important information to know. And it works. You've got to work on you, and by allowing or getting you sorted, then you can help other people. That is a very important factor, very important point.
That's so cool. No. So I see you have a green screen behind. Where are you today? Are you at home on the beach now?
Yeah, no, I'm not on the beach today. It's peeing down with rain out there. So I'm in my little studio, but there's stuff in the background. So I'll put the green screen on. It says looking at a white wall and boxes in the background. So it's all good. But yes, I quite like. It's quite cool with the green screen. I've got this one, and then also try very quickly do it without. No, it's going to take too long. So I pressed the wrong button. That's what it is. Oh, there we go. So yes, I have this one, or then I can go. See now.
There you go. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the one. Or with a click of the switch, is that I'm in space.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's right. Well, mine's pretty low tech. It's just a banner on the wall. So, and then you make it tight so nobody can see the mess of my rest of my office, my work office. That's great. Everybody thinks it's perfect in here. So we'll just leave it like that. So, no, it's been great talking to you. And I just want to let you know that every Sunday, I'll tell you when we're on. So, because I think most people, if you can watch us anytime on your YouTube channel, like we've got a YouTube channel, we stream live to it, but all our seasons of the last 4 years are on there. It's on Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light. If you check us out, We have all 4 seasons on there. You can go, and usually our guests bring some kind of meditation or some kind of healing modality, sort of give a taste of what they do. Most of our guests do that. And so there's all sorts of different things depending on who you want to talk to. I mean, we've had podcasters on us, famous podcasters. We've had all sorts of different people, like I said, like Diana Cooper. We've had Aurora Luna. We've had so many people. We have lists of people, and we go back to. We've had Sifu Boggy on, and he's done some things with us and teaching us qigong. And I said when I went on that Mount Shasta retreat with Emily Harrison last year. I think she's doing another one this year for Lionsgate, and I wish I could go, but it's too hard to get down to States right now from Canada. I was lucky to go across Canada because that was easy, but going to the States and back's quite a bit of a rigmarole still. So I'm just not going to do that this year. I'm just staying at home. I mean, so many of the women I met on that retreat were so powerful, and we've had them all on our show with all their healing modalities, and they were all up leveled at Mount Shasta because we had quite a few interesting experiences on Mount Shasta, I have to say. You know, from hearing maybe the Sasquatch, I have to say, 2 of us heard something that sounded an awful lot like the Sasquatch, but and we always felt that like somebody was watching us, but in a good way. But we were kind of like, when we were up 7,000 feet, when we were doing, I think we were doing Qigong up there. So even at 7,000 feet, when you're a sea level person, it's pretty hard. But we were doing some easy Qigong, just sort of, you know, breathing, because you needed that help. But we saw space friends when we were outside doing some CE5. We had a definite, all 14 of us saw the big flash in the sky when we asked for it. And, you know, we had some experience like that. And it's just, Mount Shasta by itself is just kind of a different presence altogether. The energy is so different. And just having that many light workers together, and you're kind of, it's in a totally safe place to be as weird as you want to let your freak fly. So it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter because everybody's the same, and everybody can let their guard down. You don't have to be any way. So I would suggest trying that someday, just being out with a whole bunch of like-minded people. Someday I'll be able to meet Teresa and Bex. I'm not sure when in person, but we still haven't met in person yet. We're quite, you know, thousands of miles apart, but through technology we connect. So.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I have that with a few people myself. That, you know, I've known them for years, and yeah, I've never physically met them, but you know, I know them very well online. But yeah, it's an interesting. But that's what I say with technology. You know, it does have its good points where, you know, like, you can know somebody and know them well, you know, and yet they live on the other side of the world, so you never physically met them, but you know their personality, you know who they are,
and you can actually feel their energy, Sifu. And I have to say that there was several of those women that I have known for years, but had never met in person, and it was just like I knew them. Like, it wasn't a strange thing. It was like Robin McClendon and Emily and Katie and Kat, which, like, oh yeah, just meeting friends that you've known all your life, because they didn't feel any different in person than they did online. If you know what I mean. They just were them. They're absolutely the same person, and it was so nice to see that. So
yeah,
it's cool. Looking forward to seeing you over here sometime in Canada. I know you will be coming sometime.
Oh yes, yeah. You know, it's definitely a goal. It's definitely a goal of mine. Is I've got to go somewhere that's got loads of ice rinks, so it's definitely a goal.
Oh well, come here, because we have loads of ice rinks from September till April. They're all in. Yeah. So yeah, I'll get my son down to come and show you some moves. He's 6'3", but I still think he can do some of the moves that you were showing off on your show.
Yeah, Yeah, it's been a while since I've skated regularly, but yeah, I still know a trick or two.
Yeah,
I still love skating.
yeah.
Well, it's been a great show. Thank you
Thank,
so much.
thank you.
Um, and just remind us one more time, where can we, if we wanted to get hold of you, how can we get hold of you, and what other stuff do you do? So,
Okay, Rhonda Elliott. You can find me at Cerulean. That's the color Cerulean Blue Forest Reiki, or you can look me up on Rhonda Elliott on Facebook. You'll be able to find me through Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light. That's an easy way to find me and track me down that way. And we're on every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time, 9 a.m. Pacific. So you can find us there and on our replays on YouTube. So all our information is in every video. So you can find myself or my hosts there as well. There. So yeah, track us down. I love to hear from people. Do it all over the world, and I'm pretty good with time zones most of the time.
it's so cool. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Um, uh, if you're listening to this for the first time, depending where you are, you can find me on Instagram under cc.boggy. You can find me on YouTube under cc.boggy. You can find me on Facebook when I'm not banned. Under either, well, my pages, I'm banned quite a bit, but my pages are normally okay. So my pages are The Way of Seafood Boggy, and also The Way of Conscious Mindfulness. You can also, you may be listening to this as a podcast, and if you are, or if you'd like to, they are on Bring Me to Life Network. Oh, sorry, Back to Bring Me to Life, Back to Life Network, and as well as also on Spotify, and you can also find it on YouTube as well. So that's the different ways you can find me. And then, so until next time, guys, take care. Rhonda don't go anywhere just yet, but everybody else, love, chi, and Chen. And remember, open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness.